Step right up. Don't be bashful. Gather round, gather round. All Varney penny dreadfuls I have in my hand. The latest issue of Varney the Vampyre, the Face of Blood. A terrifying romance of exciting interest right off the press. And all for 1 penny. These newest chapters will make your heart race with fear, your blood curdle in terror, as the villainous Varney the Vampyre makes a most unwelcome visit to a beautiful victim, Flora, in a vicious attack that sets the whole of Bannerworth Hall mad as hops. Will Flora's family and friends come to the rescue in time? Will Varney get away from our heroes? Find out what happens next for only 1 penny. Just 1 penny!
In mid-Victorian Britain, a new form of literature began to emerge in response to an increase in literacy among working-class people, brought on by social programs of the day. As the Industrial Revolution progressed, there was a growing demand for affordable entertainment, and there began to appear mass-produced serialized stories designed to appeal especially to working-class men. These stories were published weekly on cheap wood pulp paper and featured sensational subjects such as detective stories, criminal exploits, and supernatural tales. These types of stories also appealed to young boys, who would often form clubs to purchase and share the latest issues. Due to the cover price of a single penny, these melodramatic serialized stories came to be known as penny dreadfuls.
Also known as penny horribles, penny awfuls, penny terribles, and penny bloods.
Yes, thank you. As I was saying, the roots of 19th century melodrama can be found in the penny dreadfuls from this era. As the authors were paid by the typeset line, the penny dreadfuls could be excessively wordy at times and proved to some very colorful prose and exaggerated dialogue. The first penny dreadfuls were initially serialized adaptations of 18th century Gothic novels such as Horace Walpole's The Castle of Otranto and Matthew Gregory Lewis's The Monk. Later on, original works began to appear. 2 famous examples of these original penny dreadfuls were a tragic romance called The String of Pearls and our tale for tonight, Varney the Vampyre. Both were written, as best as historians can tell, by James Malcolm Rymer and Thomas Peckett Prest, either separately or in partnership. In their contributions to the penny dreadful market, Rymer and Prest gave us not only the Broadway immortalized character of Sweeney Todd in The String of Pearls, but with Varney the Vampyre, they essentially defined the modern vampire genre and all the tropes, imagery, and lore we associate with vampires in books and movies to this day. All of this from a mass-produced penny dreadful, printed on cheap paper that predates the 2 most famous vampire stories of the 19th century, Joseph Sheridan La Fanu's Carmilla and Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Who will buy me penny dreadfuls? Only 1 penny, just 1 shiny penny. Buy 1 chapter, get 3 for free.
I'll take one. Varney the Vampyre, The Feast of Blood, a Romance. Chapter 1. How graves give up their dead, and how the night air hideous grows with shrieks. Midnight, the hailstorm, the dreadful visitor, the vampire. The solemn tones of an old cathedral clock have announced midnight. The air is thick and heavy. A strange, death-like stillness pervades all nature. Like the ominous calm which precedes some more than usual terrific outbreak of the elements, they seem to have paused even in their ordinary fluctuations, to gather a terrific strength for the great effort. A faint peal of thunder, the signal gun for the battle of the winds to begin, it appeared to awaken them from their lethargy, and one awful roaring hurricane swept over the whole city, producing more devastation in the 4 or 5 minutes it lasted than would a half-century of ordinary phenomena. It was as if some giant had blown upon some toy town and scattered many of the buildings before the hot blast of his terrific breath. For as suddenly as that blast of wind had come, it ceased, and all was as still and calm as before. Sleepers awake and thought that what they had heard must be the confused chimera of a dream. They trembled and turned to sleep again. All is still, still as the very grave. Not a sound breaks the magic of repose. What is that? Strange pattering noise, as if a million of fairy feet. It's hail. Yes, a hailstorm that burst over the city. Leaves are dashed from trees, mingled with small boughs. Windows that are most opposed to the direct fury of the pelting particles of ice are broken. And the rap proposed as before was so remarkable in its intensity is exchanged for a noise which is accumulation arose from persons who found their houses invaded by the storms. Now and then, too, there would come a sudden rush of wind that in its strength as it grew laterally would for a moment hold millions of the hailstones suspended in the air. So dashing in another course in some new direction, where more mischief was to be done. Oh, how the storm rained! Hail, rain, wind. It wasn't very true and awful. There was an antique chamber in the ancient house. Very simple carvings along the walls, and a large chimney piece of curiosity itself. The ceiling was low, and a large bay window, the roof below which was Prest. The window was latticed and filled with curiously painted glass and rich stained pieces, which sent in a strange and beautiful light, and summer moon shines into the fire. There is but one portrait in that room, although the walls seem paneled to the express purpose of containing a series of pictures. That portrait is of a young man, pale face, stately brow, and a strange expression about the eyes, which no one cared to look on his eyes. There was a stately bed in that chamber, a carved walnut was made, rich in design, elaborate execution. One of those works of art which owe their existence to the Elizabethan era. Hung with heavy silver and glass furnishing, not in feathers or its corners, of a dust one day, and they lend a funereal aspect of the room. The floors of polished oak. God, how the hail dashes on the old bay window, like an occasional discharge of many musketry. It comes flashing, beating, cracking from the small panes. Irresistible. The small size saves them. The wind, the hail, the rain expend their fury in vain. The bed in that old chamber is occupied. A creature formed in all fashions of loveliness lies in a half-sleep upon that ancient couch. A girl, young and beautiful as a spring morning. Her long hair has escaped from its confinement. It streams over the blackened coverings of the bedstead. She has been restless in her sleep. The clothing of the bed is in much confusion. Her arms over her head. The other hangs moved off the side of the bed near to which she lies. And neck and bosom, it would have formed a study for the rarest sculptor that ever plowed his gauges to, perhaps exposed. She moans slightly in her sleep. Once or twice her lips move as if in prayer. At least one might judge so, with the name of him who suffered for all came once faintly from her. She has endured much fatigue, and the storm is not away from her. But it can disturb the slumbers that does not possess the power to restore entirely. The turmoil of the elements wakes the senses, although it cannot entirely break the repose they have lapsed into. What world of history is in that mouth? Slightly fired, exhibiting within the pearly teeth and glistening in the thin light that came from that little window. How sweetly the long silken eyelashes wear on the cheek. How she moves. One shoulder is entirely visible, lighter, fairer than her spotless clothing in the bed on which she lies. It's the smooth skin of that creature, just budding into womanhood. In that transition state, which presents to us all the charms of a girl, almost of a child, with a more mature beauty and gentleness in advancing years. Was that light? Yes, an awful big, terrifying flash. Then a roaring peal of thunder, as if 1,000 mountains were rolling one over the other in a blue ball of heaven. The sweet smell of that ancient city, not one living soul. The dread trumpet returning could not effectually awaken anyone. The hail continues. The wind continues. The uproar of the elements seem at its height. How she awakens that beautiful girl in the antique bed. She opens those eyes of celestial blue, and a faint cry of alarm bursts from her lips. At least it is a cry which, amid the noise and turmoil without, sounds but faint and weak. She sits upon the bed and presses her hands upon her eyes. Heavens, what a wild torrent of wind and rain and hail! From the black glass seems intent upon awakening such echoes, flashed until the next flash of forked lightning should again produce a mild concussion in the air. She comes to prayer. Prayer for those she loves best. The names of those dear to her gentle heart come from her lips. She weeps and prays. She thinks then of what devastation the storm should produce. With the great God of heaven, she prays for all living things. Another flash. The wild, wind bewildered flash of lightning streams across that big hill, for an instant bringing out every color in it with terrible swiftness. Shriek, first from the lips of the young girl, and then with eyes fixed upon that window, which in another moment is all darkness, with such an expression of terror upon her face as it had never before known, she trembled, and the perspiration of intense fear stood upon her brow. What? What was it, she gasped? Real or delusion? Oh God, what was it? A figure tall and gaunt and different from the outside one glass window. I saw it. A flash of lightning revealed it to me. It stood the whole length of the window. It was a loud moment. The air was not falling swiftly, or over as the cow fell. What it was, it straight. Yet a strange clattering sound came upon the glass of that long window. Not a delusion. She's awake and she hears it. What did produce it? Another flash of lightning. Another shriek. There could be now no illusion. A tall figure was standing on the ledge beneath the outside of the long window. It is his fingernails upon the glass that produces a sound so like the hail, out of the hail cease. Intense fear paralyzed the limbs of that beautiful girl. That one shriek is all she can utter, with hands clasped, a face of marble, a heart beating so wildly in her bosom that each moment it seemed as if it would break its confines. Eyes distended, fixed upon the window, she waits, frozen with horror. The pattern and piling of the nails continues. The word is spoken. And now she fancies she can trace the darker form of that figure against the window, and she can see the long arms moving to and fro, feeling for some mode of entrance. What strange light is that which now gradually creeps up into the air? Red and terrible, brighter and brighter it grows. Lightning is set fire to a mill, and the reflection of the rapidly consuming building falls upon that long window. There could be no mistake. The figure is there, still feeling for an entrance, and clattering against the glass with its long nails that appear as if the growth of many years had gone untouched. She tries to scream again, but the choking sensation comes over her, and she cannot. It is too dreadful. She tries to move. Each limb seems weighed down by tons of lead. She can but in a hoarse, faint whisper cry, help, 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 help. And that one word she repeats like a person in a dream. The red glare of the fire continues. It throws up the tall, gaunt figure in hideous relief against the long window. It shows too upon the one portrait that is in the chamber, and that portrait appears to fix its eyes upon the attempting intruder, while the flickering light from the fire makes it look fearfully lifelike. A small pane of glass is broken. The form from without introduces a long, gaunt hand, which seems entirely destitute of flesh. The fastening is removed, and one half of the window, which opens like folding doors, is swung wide open on its hinges. And yet now she could not scream. She could not move. Help, help, help was all she could say. But oh, that look of terror that sat upon her face, it was dreadful. A look to haunt the memory for a lifetime. A look to obtrude itself upon the happiest moments and turn into bitterness. The figure turns half round. The light falls upon the face. It is perfectly white, perfectly bloodless. The eyes look like polished tin, the lips are drawn back, and the principal feature next to those dreadful eyes is the teeth, the fearful-looking teeth, projecting like those of some wild animal, hideously, glaringly white and fang-like. It approaches the bed with a strange gliding movement. It clashes together the long nails that literally appear to hang from the finger ends. No sound comes from the lips. Is she going mad, that young and beautiful girl exposed to so much terror? She has drawn up all her limbs. She cannot even now say, no. Power of articulation is gone, but the power of movement has returned to her. She could draw herself slowly along to the other side of the bed, from that toward which the hideous appearance is coming. But her eyes are fascinating. The glance of the serpent could not have produced a greater effect upon her than did the fixed gaze of those awful, metallic-looking eyes that were bent on her face. Crouching down, so that the gigantic height was lost, and the horrible protruding white face was the most prominent object came on the figure. What was it? What did it want there? What made it look so hideous, so unlike an inhabitant of the earth, and yet to be on it? Now as she got to the verge of the bed, and the figure pauses. It seems as if when it paused, she lost the power to proceed. The clothing of the bed was now clutched in her hands with unconscious power. She drew her breath short and thick. Her bosom heaves and her limbs tremble, yet she cannot withdraw her eyes from that marble-looking face. He holds her with his glittering eye. The storm has ceased. All is still. The winds are hushed. The church clock proclaims the hour of 1. A hissing sound comes from the throat of the hideous being, and he raises his long, gaunt arms. The lips move. He advances. The girl places one small foot from the bed onto the floor. She is unconsciously dragging the clothing with her. The door of that room is in that direction. Can she reach it? Has she power to walk? Can she withdraw her eyes from the face of the intruder and so break the hideous charm? God of heaven, is it real or some dream so like reality as to nearly overturn the judgment forever? The figure has paused again. Half on the bed and half out of it, that young girl lies trembling. Her long hair streams across the entire width of the bed, and as she has slowly moved along, she has left it streaming across the pillows. The pause lasted about a minute. Oh, what an age of agony! That minute was indeed enough for madness to do its full work in. With a sudden rush that could not be foreseen, with a strange howling cry, enough to awaken terror in every breast, the figure seized the long tresses of her hair, and twining them around his bony hands, he held her to the bed, and then she screamed. Heaven granted her then the power to scream. Shriek followed shriek in rapid succession. The bedclothes fell in a heap by the side of the bed. She was dragged by her long silken hair completely onto it again. Her beautifully rounded limbs quivered with the agony of her soul. At last, the horrible eyes of the figure ran over that angelic form with a hideous satisfaction. Horrible profanation. He drags her head to the bed's edge. He forces it back, the long hair still entwined in his grasp. With a plunge, he seizes her neck in his fang-like teeth. A gush of blood and a hideous sucking noise follows. The girl has swooned, and the vampire is at his hideous repast. Chapter 2. The alarm, the pistol shot, the pursuit, and its consequences. Lights flash about the building, various room doors open. Voices call to one another. There was a universal stir and commotion among the inhabitants.
Did you hear a scream, Harry?
I did. Where was it?
God knows, I dressed myself directly.
All is still now.
Yes, and unless I was dreaming, there was a scream.
Well, we both couldn't dream there was. But where do you suppose it came from?
It burst so suddenly upon my ears that I cannot say.
For God's sake, get up!
We are up.
Oh, did you hear anything?
Yes, a scream.
Oh, search the house, search the house. Where did it come from? Can you tell?
Well, indeed, we cannot.
Another person now joined the party.
Good God, what's the matter?
Scarcely had the word passed his lips than such a rapid succession of shrieks came upon their ears. The elderly lady who one of the young men had called mother fainted, proudly supported by the last caller, who was with himself staggered as those piercing cries came upon the night air. He, however, was the first to recover, for the young men seemed paralyzed.
For God's sake, Henry, support her mother! Can you tell that these screams came from Flora's room?
The young man mechanically supported his mother, and then the man who had just spoken darted back to his own bedroom, from whence he returned in a moment with a pair of pistols and shouting,
Follow me, who can!
He bounded across the corridor in the direction of the antique apartment from whence the cries proceeded, but which were now hushed.
Flora! Flora! Flora, speak!
All was still.
Good God, we'll have to force the door.
I hear a strange noise from within.
Yes, I do too. What does it sound like?
I scarcely know, but it nearest resembles some animal or some animal sucking some liquid.
What on earth can it be? I mean, a weapon never forced the door. I shall go mad. Here.
I have. Wait a moment.
The house was built for strength, and the doors were all oak and considerable thickness. Unhappily, they had fastenings within, so that when the man reached the chamber of her who so much required help, he was helpless, for the door was fast.
What will this do?
It will, give it to me.
Has she not spoken?
Not a word. My mind is giving me something very dreadful must have happened to her.
And that odd noise.
It still goes on. Somehow it curdles the very blood in my veins to hear it.
The man took the crowbar, and with some difficulty succeeded in introducing it between the door and the side of the wall. Still, it required great strength to move it, but it did move with a harsh crackling sound.
Push the door at the same time.
The younger man did so. For a few minutes, the massive door resisted. Then suddenly something gave way with a loud snap. Part of the lock, and the door at once swung wide open. How true it is that we measure time by the events which happen within a given space of it, rather than by its actual duration. To those who are engaged in forcing open the door of the antique chamber, where slept the young girl whom they named Flora, each moment was swelled into an hour of agony, but in reality, from the first moment of the alarm to that when the loud cracking noise heralded the destruction of the fastenings of the door, there elapsed but very few minutes indeed.
It opens! It opens!
In a moment, we will have free ingress to the chamber. Be patient.
The stranger's name was Marchdale, and even as he spoke, he succeeded in throwing the massive door wide open and clearing a passage through the chamber. The rush into the light in his hand was the work of a moment that a young man named Henry. The very rapid progress he made into the apartment prevented him from observing accurately what it contained, for the wind that came in from the open window caught the flame of the candle, and although it did not actually extinguish it, it blew it so much on one side that it was comparatively useless as a light.
Flora! Flora!
Then with a sudden bound, something dashed him off the bed. The concussion against him was so sudden and so utterly unexpected, as well as so tremendously violent that he was thrown down. All was darkness, save a dull, reddish kind of light that now and then, from the nearly consumed mill in the immediate vicinity, came into the room. But by that light, dim, uncertain, and flickering as it was, someone was seen to make for the window. Henry, although nearly stunned by his fall, saw a figure gigantic in height, which nearly reached from the floor to the ceiling. The other young man, George, saw it, and Mr. Marchdale likewise saw it, as did the lady who had spoken to the two young men in the corridor, when first the screams of the young girl awakened alarm in the breasts of all the inhabitants of that house. The figure was about to pass out of the window, which led to a kind of balcony from whence there was an easy descent to a garden. Before it passed out, they each and all caught a glance of the side face, and they saw that the lower part of it and the lips were dabbled in blood. They saw, too, one of those fearful-looking, shiny, metallic eyes which presented so terrible an appearance of unearthly ferocity. No wonder that for a moment of panic seized them all, which paralyzed any exertions they might otherwise have made to retain that hideous form. Now, Mr. Marchdale was a man of mature years. He had seen much of life, both in this and foreign lands, and he, although astonished to the extent of being frightened, was much more likely to recover sooner than his younger companions, which indeed he did, and acted promptly enough.
Do not rise, Henry. Lie still.
Almost at the moment he uttered these words, he fired at the figure, which stood by the window, as if it were a gigantic figure set in a frame. The report was tremendous in that chamber, for the pistol was no toy weapon, but one made for actual service, and of sufficient length and bore a barrel to carry destruction along with the bullets that came from it.
If I miss this aim, I will never pull the trigger again.
As he spoke, he dashed forward, and in a clutch to the figure he felt convinced he had shot him. The tall form turned upon him, and when he got a full view of the face, which he did at that moment, Marchdale, in all his courage, and that was great, and all his nervous energy, recoiled a step or two and uttered the exclamation of,
Good God!
That face was one never to be forgotten. It was hideously flushed with color, the color of fresh blood. The eyes had a savage and remarkable luster, whereas before they looked like polished tin, they now were a 10 times brighter aspect, and flashes of light seemed to dart from them. The mouth was open, as if from the natural formation of the countenance, the lips receded much from the large canine-looking teeth. A strange howling noise out of this monstrous figure, and it seemed upon the point of rushing upon Mr. Marchdale. Suddenly then, as if some impulse had seized upon it, it uttered a wild and perilous scream. Then turning, dashed to the window. In one instant,
God help us!
Mr. Marchdale drew a long breath, and then getting a stamp on the floor as if to recover himself from the state of agitation into which he was thrown, he cried,
Be it what or who it may, I will follow it. I will. Let those who will come with me follow. I will find that dreadful form.
And we too, George, we must follow Mr. Marchdale. This dreadful affair concerns us more nearly than it does him.
The lady who was the mother of these young men and of the beautiful girl who had been so awfully visited screamed aloud. And but the voice of Mr. Marchdale was heard exclaiming aloud,
I see it! I see it! It climbs upon the wall!
They hesitated no longer, but at once rushed into the balcony and from thence dropped into the garden. The mother approached the bedside of the insensible, perhaps the murdered girl. She saw her, to all appearance, weltering in blood, and overcome by her emotions, she fainted. When the two young men reached the garden, for not only was the morning rapidly approaching, the mill was still burning, and those mingled lights made almost every object plainly visible, they heard the voice of Mr. Marchdale as he cried,
There! Toward the wall! There! Do you not see it?
The young men hastily dashed to a thicket in the direction from whence his voice sounded, and then they found him looking wild and terrified, and with something in his hand which looked like a portion of clothing.
Which way? Which way?
God help us all! It is not human! Look there! Look there! Can you not see? see it.
They looked in the direction he indicated. At the end of this vista was the wall of the garden. At that point, it was full 12 feet in height. And as they looked, they saw the hideous, monstrous form they had traced from the chamber of their sister, making frantic efforts to clear the obstacle. Then they saw it bound from the ground at the top of the wall, which it very nearly reached, and then each time it fell back again into the garden with such a dull, heavy sound that the earth seemed to shake again with the concussion. They trembled. Well, indeed they might, and for some minutes they watched the figure making its fruitless efforts to leave the place.
What was it? Oh God, what could that possibly be?
I know not. I did seize it. It felt cold and clammy like a corpse. It cannot be human.
Not human. But look at it now. It will surely escape now.
No, we will not be terrified thus. There is a heaven above us. Come on, and for dear Flora's sake, let us make an effort to seize this bold intruder. Here, take this pistol. It is the fellow of the one I fired. Try its efficacy.
He will be gone.
As at this moment the figure reached the top of the wall, and then hung by its long arms a moment or two, previous to dragging itself completely up. The idea of the appearance, be it what it might, entirely escaping, seemed to nerve again Mr. Marchdale, and he, as well as the two young men, ran forward towards the wall. They got so close to the figure before it sprang down on the outer side of the wall that to miss killing it with the bullet from the pistol was a matter of utter impossibility, almost willfully. Henry had the weapon, and he pointed it full at the tall form with a steady aim. He pulled the trigger. Explosion followed, and that the bullet did its office there could be no manner of doubt. But the figure gave a howling shriek and fell headlong from the wall on the outside.
I have shot him. I have shot him.
Chapter 3. The disappearance of the body, Flora's recovery and madness, the offer of assistance from Sir Francis Varney.
He is not human. I have surely killed him.
It would seem so. Let us hurry round to the outside of the wall and see where he lies.
This was at once agreed to, and the whole three of them made what expedition they could towards a gate which led into a paddock, across which they hurried, and soon found themselves clear of the garden wall, so that they could make way towards where they fully expected to find the body of him who had worn so unearthly an aspect, but who it would be an excessive relief to find was human. So hurried was the progress they made, that it was scarcely possible to exchange many words as they went. A kind of breathless anxiety was upon them, and in the speed they disregarded of the obstacle, which would at any other time have probably prevented them from taking the direct road they sought. It was difficult on the outside of the wall to say exactly which was the precise spot which it might be supposed the body had fallen on, but by following the wall in its entire length, surely they would come upon it. They did so, but to their surprise, they got from its commencement to its further extremity without finding any dead body or even any symptoms of one having lain there. At some parts close to the wall, there grew a kind of heath, and consequently the traces of blood would be lost among it if it so happened that at that precise spot at which the strange being had seemed to topple over, such vegetation had existed. This was to be ascertained. But now, after traversing the whole length of the wall twice, they came to a halt and looked wonderingly in each other's faces.
There is nothing here.
Nothing.
It could not have been a delusion.
A delusion? That is not possible.
Then
We all saw it.
what terrible explanation can we give?
By heavens, I know not. This adventure surpasses all belief, but for the great interest we have in it, I should regard it with a world of curiosity.
It is too
It's
dreadful.
too dreadful. For God's sake, Henry, let us return to ascertain if poor Flora is killed.
My senses were all so absorbed in gazing at that horrible form that I never once looked towards her further than to see that she was, to all appearance, dead. Oh, God help her. Oh, poor dear Flora. This is indeed a sad fate for you, Phelps.
Do not weep, Henry. Rather, let us now hasten home, where we may find the accuser premature. She may yet be living and restored to us.
And she may be able to give us some account of this dreadful visitation.
True. We must hasten home.
They now turned their steps homeward, and as they went, they much blamed themselves for all leaving home together, and with terror pictured what might occur in their absence to those who were now totally unprotected.
It was a rash impulse of us all to pursue this dreadful figure. But do not torment yourself, Henry. There is no reason for your fears.
At the pace they went, they very soon reached the ancient house, and when they came in sight of it, they saw lights flashing from the windows, and the shadows of faces moving to and fro, indicating that the whole household was up and in a state of alarm. Henry, after some trouble, got the hall door opened by a terrified servant, who was trembling so much that she could scarcely hold the light she had with her. Henry rushed to the staircase, followed by George and Mr. Marchdale, nor paused he once until he reached the room of his sister.
Mother, are you here?
Oh, I am, my dear, I am. Come in. Pray come in and speak to poor Flora.
Come in, Mr. Marchdale. Come in, we make no stranger of you.
They all then entered the room. Several lights had been now brought into that antique chamber, and in addition to the mother of the beautiful girl who had been so fearfully visited, there were two female domestics who appeared to be in the greatest possible fright, but they could render no assistance whatever to anybody. The tears were streaming down the mother's face, and the moment she saw Mr. Marchdale, she clung to his arm, evidently unconscious of what she was about, and exclaimed,
What is this that has happened? What is it? Tell me, Marchdale. Robert Marchdale, you whom I have known even from my childhood, you will not deceive me. Tell me, what is the meaning of all this?
I cannot. As God is my judge, I am as puzzled and amazed at the scene that has taken place here tonight as you are. It was the storm that first awakened me, and then I heard a scream.
The brothers tremblingly approached the bed. Flora was placed in a sitting, half-reclining posture, propped up by pillows. She was quite insensible, and her face was fearfully pale, while that she breathed at all could be but very faintly seen. On some of her clothing, about the neck, were spots of blood, and she looked more like one who had suffered some long and grievous illness than a young girl in the prime of life and in the most robust health, as she had been in the day previous to the strange scene we have reported.
Does she sleep?
No, this is a swoon from which we must recover her.
Active measures were now adopted to restore the liquid circulation, and after persevering in them for some time, they had the satisfaction of seeing her open her eyes. Her first act upon consciousness returning, however, was to utter a loud shriek. It was not until Henry implored her to look around her and see that she was surrounded by none but friendly faces that she would venture again to open her eyes and look timidly from one to the other. Then she shuddered and burst into tears as she said,
Have mercy upon me, heaven have mercy upon me, and save me from that dreadful fall.
There is no one here, Flora, but those who love you, and who, in your defense, would lay down their lives.
Oh, God, God.
Tell us how it happened, dear Flora.
She
Or would
trembled.
you rather endeavor to get some sleep first?
She trembled so violently that Mr. Marchdale recommended that some stimulant should be given to her, and she was persuaded, although not without considerable difficulty, to swallow a small portion of some wine from a cup. There could be no doubt but that the stimulating effect of the wine was beneficial, but a slight accession of color visited her cheeks, and she spoke in a firmer tone as she said,
Do not leave me. Oh, do not leave me, any of you. I shall die if left alone now. Oh, save me. Save me. That horrible fall. That beautiful face.
Tell us, dear Flora, what happened? Dear Flora.
Or would you rather endeavor to sleep?
No sleep for me. I do not think I shall ever sleep again.
Say not so, Flora. You will be more composed in a few hours, and then you can tell us what occurred.
I will tell you now. I will tell you now.
She placed her hands over her face for a moment, as if to collect her scattered thoughts, and then she added,
I was awakened by the storm, and I saw that terrible apparition at the window. I think I screamed, but I could not fly. Oh God, I could not fly. It came, it seized me by the hair. I know no more. I know no more.
She passed her hands across her neck several times, and Mr. Marchdale said in an anxious voice,
You seem, Flora, to have hurt your neck. There is a wound.
A wound?
She brought a light close to the bed where all saw on the side of Flora's neck a small punctured wound, or rather two, for there was once a little distance from the other. It was from these wounds the blood had come which was observable upon her night clothing.
How came these wounds?
I do not know. I feel very faint and weak, as if I had almost bled to death.
You cannot have done so, dear Flora, for there are not about half a dozen spots of blood to be seen at all.
Mr. Mr. Marchdale leaned against the carved head of the bed for support. He uttered a deep groan. All eyes were turned upon him, and Henry said in a voice of the most anxious inquiry,
You have something to say, Mr. Marchdale, which will throw some light upon this subject.
No, nothing. Nothing. I have nothing to say, but that I think dear Flora should get some sleep if she can.
No, speak for me. Dare I be alone to sleep?
But you shall not be alone, dear Flora. I will sit by your bedside and watch you.
Promise me, Henry, by all your hope of heaven, you will not leave me.
Promise.
She gently laid herself down with a deep sigh and closed her eyes.
She is weak, and she will sleep long.
You sigh. Some fearful thoughts oppress your heart, as I am certain.
Hush. Not here.
I understand. Let us sleep.
There was a silence of some few minutes' duration. Flora had dropped into a deep slumber. That silence was first broken by George, who said,
Mr. Marchdale, look at that portrait!
He pointed to the portrait in the frame to which we have alluded, and the moment Mr. Marchdale looked at it, he sunk into a chair as he exclaimed,
How like!
It is! Those eyes!
And see the contour of that countenance, and the strange shape of the mouth.
Exact! That picture shall be moved from here. The sight of it is at once sufficient to awaken all the former terrors into our Flora's brain should she chance to awaken and cast her eyes upon it.
And is it so like him who came here?
It is the very man himself. I have not been in this house long enough to even ask you for who this portrait is of.
It is the portrait of Sir Runagate Bannerman, an ancestor of ours who, by his vices, was the first to cause the great blow to the family prosperity.
Indeed. How long ago?
About 90 years.
90 years. It's a long while, 90 years.
You muse upon it, sir.
No, I do wish, and yet I dread
What?
to say something to you all, but not here. I will hold a consultation tomorrow, but not now.
The daylight is coming quickly on. I shall keep my sacred promise of not moving from this room until she awakens, but there can be no occasion for the detention of the rest of you. One is sufficient here. All of you, endeavor to procure what rest you can.
I will fetch you my powder flasks and bullets, and you can, if you please, reload the pistols in about 2 hours. It will be broad daylight.
This arrangement was adopted. Henry did reload the pistols and placed them on a table by the side of the bed, ready for immediate action. And then, as Flora was sleeping soundly, all left the room by himself. Mrs. Bannerworth was the last to do so. She would have remained, but for the earnest solicitation of Henry, that she would endeavor to get some sleep to make up for her broken night's repose. She was indeed so broken down by her alarming Flora's account that she had not power to resist, though with tears flowing from her eyes, she sought her own chamber. And now, the calmness of the night resumed its sway in that eagle-fated mansion. And although no one really slept but Flora, all was still. Busy thought kept everyone else wakeful. It was a mockery to lie down at all, and Henry, with strange and painful feelings as he was, preferred his present position to the anxiety and apprehension on Flora's account, which he knew he should feel if she were not within the sphere of his own observation. And she slept as soundly as some gentle infant, tired of its playmates and its sports. Now have a 15-minute intermission. Chapter 4. The morning, the consultation, the fearful suggestion. What wonderfully different impressions and feelings, with regard to the same circumstances, come across the mind in the broad, clear, and beautiful light of day. What haunt the imagination can often render the judgment almost incapable of action when the heavy shadow of night is upon all things. There must be a downright physical reason for this effect. It is so remarkable and so universal. It seems that the sun's rays so completely alter and modify the constitution of the atmosphere that it produces, as we inhale it, a wonderfully different effect upon the nerves of the human subject. We can account for this phenomenon in no other way. Perhaps never in his life had he, Henry Bannersworth, felt so strongly this transition of feeling as he now felt it. when the beautiful daylight gradually dawned upon him, as he kept his lonely watch by the bedside of his slumbering sister. That watch had been a perfectly undisturbed one. Not the least sight or sound of any intrusion had reached his senses. All had been as still as the very grave. And yet, while the night lasted, and he was more indebted to the rays of the candle, which he had placed upon a shelf, to the power to distinguish objects, than to the light of the morning, 1,000 uneasy and strange sensations had found a home in his agitated bosom. He looked so many times at the portrait, which was in the panel, that at length he felt an undefined sensation of terror creep over him whenever he took his eyes off it. He tried to keep himself from looking at it, but he found it vain, so he adopted what perhaps was certainly the wisest, best plan, namely to look at it continually. He shifted his chair so that he could gaze upon it without any effort, and he placed the candle so that a faint light was thrown upon it. And there he sat, a prey to many conflicting and uncomfortable feelings, until the daylight began to make the candle flame look dull and sickly. Solution for the events of the night he could find none. He racked his imagination in vain to find some means, however vague, of endeavoring to account for what occurred, and still he was at fault. All was to him wrapped in the gloom of the most profound mystery. And how strangely, too, the eyes of that portrait appeared to look upon him, as if instinct with life, and as if the head to which they belonged was busy in endeavoring to find out the secret communings of his soul. It was wonderfully well executed, that portrait, so lifelike, that the very features seemed to move as you gazed upon them.
It shall be removed. I would remove it now, but it seems absolutely painted to the panel, and I should await poor Flora in any attempt to do so.
He arose and ascertained that such was the case, and that it would require a workman with proper tools adapted to the job to remove the portrait.
True, I might destroy it now, but it is a pity to obscure a work of such rare art as this. I should blame myself if it were. It shall be removed to some other room of the house.
Then all of a sudden, it struck Henry how foolish it would be to remove the portrait from the wall of a room, which in all likelihood, after that night, would be uninhabited. For it was not probable that Flora would choose again to inhabit a chamber in which she had gone through so much terror.
It can be left where it is, and we can fasten it up if we please, the very door of this room, and no one need to trouble himself any further.
Morning was now coming fast, and just as Henry thought he would partially draw a blind across the window, in order to shield from the direct rays of the sun the eyes of Flora, she awoke.
You are safe, Flora. You are safe.
Where is it now?
What, dear Flora?
The dreadful apparition! Oh, what have I done to be made thus perpetually miserable?
Think no more of it, Flora.
I must think! My brain is on fire! A million of strange eyes seem gazing on me!
Good heavens, she raves!
Hark! 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 He comes on the wings of the storm! Oh, it is not horrible! Horrible!
Henry rang the bell, not sufficiently loud to create any alarm. The sound reached the waking ear of the mother, who in a few moments was in the room.
She has awakened. She's spoken. But she seems to wander in her discourse. Oh, for God's sake, soothe her. I try to bring her mind around to its usual state.
Oh, I will.
And I think, Mother, if we were to get her out of this room and into another chamber as far removed as possible, it would tend to withdraw her mind and promote that this is her good.
Yes, it shall be done. Oh, Henry, what was it? What do you think it was?
I am lost in a sea of wild conjecture. I can form no conclusion. Where is Mr. Marchdale?
I believe in his chamber.
Then I will go and consult him.
Henry proceeded at once to the chamber, which was as he knew occupied by Mr. Marchdale. And as he crossed the corridor, he could not pause a moment to glance from a window at the face of nature. As is often the case, the terrific storm of the preceding evening had cleared the air and rendered it deliciously invigorating and lifelike. The weather had been dull, and there had been for some days a certain heaviness in the atmosphere, which was now entirely removed. The morning sun was shining with uncommon brilliancy. Birds were singing in every tree and on every bush. So pleasant, so spirit-stirring, health-giving a morning, seldom had he seen. And the effect upon his spirits was great, although not altogether what it might have been, had all gone on as it usually was in the habit of doing at that house. The ordinary little casualties of evil fortune had certainly from time to time, in the shape of illness and one thing or another, attacked the family of the Vampyres in common with every other family. But here suddenly had arisen a something at once terrible and inexplicable. He found Mr. Marchdale out of dress, and apparently in deep and anxious thought. The moment he saw Henry, he said,
Flora is awake, I presume?
Yes, but her mind appears to be much disturbed.
From bodily weakness, I dare say.
But why should she be bodily weak? She was strong and as well as anyone could be in her life. The glow of youth and health were on her cheeks. Is it possible that in the course of one night she should become bodily weak to such an extent?
Henry, I am not, as you know, a superstitious man.
You certainly are not.
And yet, I have never in my life have been so absolutely staggered as I have been by the occurrences here tonight.
Say on.
There is a frightful, a hideous solution of them, one which every consideration will tend to add strength, one which I tremble to name now, although yesterday at this hour I should have laughed it to scorn.
Indeed.
Yes, it is so. Tell no one that which I am about to tell you. Let the dreadful suggestion remain with ourselves alone, Henry Gallagher.
I am lost in wonder.
You promise me?
What?
That you will not repeat my opinion to anyone.
I do.
On your honor?
On my honor, I promise.
Mr. Marchdale rose and proceeding to the door, he looked out to see that there were no listeners near. Having ascertained that they were quite alone, he returned. And drawing a chair close to that on which Henry sat, he said,
Henry, have you never heard of a strange and dreadful superstition in which some countries is extremely rife, by which it is supposed that there are beings who never die?
Never die?
Never. In a word, Henry, have you ever heard of, I dread to pronounce the word.
Speak it, for God's sake, let me hear it.
A vampire.
Henry sprang to his feet. His whole frame quivered with emotion. The drops of perspiration stood upon his brow, as in a strange, hoarse voice he repeated the words.
Vampire? Even so. One who has to renew its dreadful existence by human blood. One who lives on forever, and must keep up such a dreadful, frightful existence upon human gore. One who eats not and drinks not like other men. A vampire.
Oh.
I could echo that groan, but I am so thoroughly bewildered I know not what to think.
Oh, good God, good God!
I'm not too readily will believe in so dreadful a superstition, I pray you.
You believe? No, I haven't. And the great God of us all, who rules above, I will not easily believe so awful and so monstrous.
I applaud your sentiment, Henry. Not willingly would I deliver myself of so frightful a belief. It is too horrible. I merely have told you that which was on my mind. You may surely have heard of such things.
I have.
I much marvel, then, that the supposition never occurred to you, Henry.
It did not. It did not, Marchdale. But it's just too dreadful, I suppose, to find a home in my heart. Oh, Flora, if this horrible idea should once occur to you, I'm quite sure she could not uphold herself against it.
Let no one presume to insinuate it to her, Henry. I would not have mentioned it to her for worlds.
Oh, nor I. Oh, good God. I shudder at the thought, the mere possibility. But there is no possibility. There can be none. I will not believe it.
Nor I.
No, by heaven's justice, grace, and goodness and mercy, I will not believe it.
'Tis well sworn, Henry. And now, discarding the supposition that Flora has been visited by a vampire, let us seriously set about endeavoring, if we can, to account for what has happened tonight.
I cannot.
Nay, let us examine the matter. If we can find any natural explanation, let us cling to it, Henry, as a sheep anchor our very souls.
Do you think you are fertile in expedience? Do you think, Marchdale, and for heaven's sake, and for the sake of your own peace, find out some other way of accounting for what has happened than the hideous one you have suggested.
And yet my pistol bullets hurt him not, and he has left a token of his presence on the neck of Flora.
Peace, peace, oh peace, I pray you accumulate no more reasons why I should receive such a dismal, awful superstition. Oh, do not, Marchdale, as sure as you love me.
You know that my attachment to you is sincere, yet heaven help us.
His voice was broken by grief as he spoke, and he turned aside his head to hide the bursting tears that would, despite all his efforts, show themselves in his eyes.
Marchdale, I will sit up tonight with my sister.
Do.
Think you a chance that it may come again?
I cannot. I dare not speculate upon the coming of so dreadful a visitor, Henry. But I will hold watch with you willingly.
You will, Marchdale?
My hand upon it. Come what dangers may, I will share them with you, Henry.
1,000 thanks, Marchdale.
My hand upon it.
Oh. Say nothing then to George about what we have been talking about. He is of a highly susceptible nature, and the very idea would really kill him.
I will be mute. Remove your sister for some other chamber, let me beg you. Henry, the one she now resides in will always be suggestive of horrible thoughts.
I will. Oh, and that dreadful portrait with its perfect likeness to him who came last night.
Perfect indeed. Do you intend to remove it?
I do not. I thought about doing so, but it's actually on the panel on the wall, and I would not willingly destroy it. Well, it might as well remain where it is in that chamber, which I can readily now believe will become henceforward a deserted one in this house.
It may well become such.
Wait, who comes here? I hear a step.
There was a tap at the door at this moment, and George made his appearance in answer to the summons to come in. He looked pale and ill. His face betrayed how much he had mentally suffered during that night, and almost directly he got into the bedchamber, he said,
I am sure, be censored by you both what I'm going to say. But I cannot help saying it. Nonetheless, for to keep it to myself would destroy me.
Good God, George, what is it?
Speak it out.
I have been thinking of what has occurred here, and the result of that thought has been one of the wildest suppositions that I ever thought I should have to entertain. Had you never heard of a vampire?
Henry sighed deeply, and Marchdale was silent.
I say a vampire. It is fearful, a horrible supposition. But our poor dear Flora has been visited by a vampire, and I don't go completely mad.
He sat down, and covering his face with his hands, he wept bitterly and abundantly.
George, be calm, George, and endeavor to listen to me.
I hear, Henry.
Well then, do not suppose that you are the only one in this house to whom so dreadful a supposition has occurred.
Not the only one?
No, it has occurred to Mr. Marchdale also.
Gracious Henry!
He mentioned it to me, but we have both agreed to repudiate it with horror.
To repudiate it?
Yes, George.
And yet!
Hush. I know what you would say. You would tell us that a repudiation of it cannot affect the fact. Of that we are aware. But yet, will we disbelieve that which the belief in would be enough to drive us mad?
What do you intend to do?
To keep this supposition to ourselves in the first place, and to guard it most zealously from the ears of Flora.
Do you think she's ever heard of vampires?
I've never heard her mention that in all her reading, that she's even gathered even a hint of such a fearful superstition. If she has, we must be guided by circumstance and do the best we can.
Pray heaven she may not.
Amen to that prayer, George. Mr. Marchdale and I intend to keep watch over Flora tonight.
May not I join you?
Your health, dear George. It will not permit you to engage in such matters. Do you seek your natural repose, and leave it to us to best as we can to, in this most fearful, terrible emergency.
As you please, brother, and as you please, Mr. Marchdale. I know I am a frail breed, and my belief is that this affair will kill me quite. The truth is, I am horrified, utterly and frightfully horrified. Like my poor dear sister, I cannot believe I shall ever sleep again.
Do not fancy that, George. You very much add to the uneasiness which must be your poor mother's portion by allowing this circumstance to so much affect you. You know very well that her affection for you all, and let me therefore, as a friend of hers, entreat you to wear a
my life, I will, to my dear mother, endeavor to play the hypocrite.
Do so. The motive will sanction any such deceit as that, George, be assured.
The day wore on. Poor Flora remained in a very precarious situation. It was not until midday that Henry made up his mind he would call a medical gentleman to her. Then he rode to the neighboring market town, where he knew an extremely intelligent practitioner resided. This gentleman Henry resolved upon, under a promise of secrecy, making his confidant of, but long before he reached him, he found he might well dispense with the promises of secrecy. He had never thought, so engaged had he been with other matters, that the servants were cognizant of the whole affair, and that from them he had no expectation of being able to keep the whole story in all its details. Of course, such an opportunity for tale-bearing and gossiping was not likely to be lost, and while Henry was thinking over how he had better act in the matter, the news that Flora Vanderworth had been visited in the night by a vampire, for the servants named the visitation such at once, was spreading all over the county. As he rode along, Henry met a gentleman on horseback who belonged to the county, and who, reining in his steed, said to him,
Good morning, Mr. Vanderworth.
Good morning.
Excuse me for interrupting you, sir, but what is a strange story that's in everybody's mouth about a vampire?
Henry nearly fell off his horse. He was so much astonished, and wheeling the animal around, he said,
In everybody's mouth.
Yes, I've heard it from at least a dozen persons.
You surprise me.
It is untrue, of course. I'm not so absurd as to really believe about the vampire. But is there no foundation for it at all? We generally find that these at the bottom of these common reports, there is something around which, as a nucleus, the whole has formed.
My sister is unwell.
Oh, that's all? It really is too bad now.
We had a visitor last night.
A thief, I suppose.
Yes, I believe a thief. I do believe it was a thief, and she was terrified.
Of course, and upon such a thing is grafted a story about a vampire, and the marks of teeth being stuck in her neck, and all the circumstantial particulars.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Chillingworth.
Good morning.
Henry bade the gentleman good morning, and much vexed with the publicity which the affair had already obtained, he set spurs to his horse, determined that he would speak to no one else upon so uncomfortable a theme. Several attempts were made to stop him, but he only waved his hand and trotted on, nor did he pause in his speed till he reached the door of Mr. Chillingworth, medical man whom he intended to consult. Henry knew that at such a time he would be at home, which was the case, and he was soon closeted with the man of drugs. Henry begged his patient hearing, which being accorded, he related to him at full length what had happened, not omitting to the best of his remembrance any one particular. When he concluded his narration, the doctor shifted his position several times and then said,
That's all.
Yes, and enough too.
More than enough, I should say, my young friend. You astonish me.
Can you form any suppositions, sir, on the subject?
Not just now. What is your own idea?
I cannot be said to have one about it. It's too absurd to tell you that my brother George is impressed with the belief that a vampire has visited the house.
I never in all my life heard a more circumstantial narrative in favor of so hideous a superstition.
But you cannot believe
Believe what?
that the dead can come to life again, and by such a process keep up vitality?
You take me for a fool.
Certainly not.
Then why do you ask me such questions?
But the glaring facts of the case.
I don't care if they were 10 times more glaring, I won't believe it. I would rather believe that your old man, the whole family believed it, that by the full of the moon you were all in the crack.
So did I.
You go home now, and I will call and see your sister in the course of 2 hours. Something may turn up yet to throw some new light on this strange subject.
With this understanding, Henry went home, and he took care to ride as fast as before in order to avoid questions, so that he got back to his old ancestral home without going through the disagreeable ordeal of having to explain to anyone what had disturbed the peace of it. When Henry reached his home, he found that the evening was rapidly coming on, and before he could permit himself to think upon any other subject, he inquired how his terrified sister had passed the hours during his absence. He found that but little improvement had taken place in her, and that she had occasionally slept, but to awaken and speak incoherently, as if the shock she had received had had some serious effect upon her nerves. He repaired at once to her room, and finding that she was awake, he leaned over her and spoke tenderly to her.
Flora,
Dear Flora, are you better now?
Harry, is that you?
Yes, dear.
Oh, tell me what has happened.
You have no recollection, Flora?
Yes, Henry, but what was it? They none of them will tell me what it was, Henry.
Calm, dear. No doubt some attempt to rob the house.
Think you so?
Yes, the bay windows are peculiarly and particularly adapted for such a purpose. I don't know. I'm glad you're removed here from this room and are able to rest in peace.
I shall die of terror, Henry. Even now, those eyes are glaring on me so hideously. Oh, it's fearful. It is very fearful, Henry. Do not you pity me, and no one will promise to remain with me at night.
Indeed, Flora, you are mistaken. For I intend to sit by your side, armed, and so preserve you from all harm.
You will, Henry. You will, and not think it's too much trouble, dear Henry.
There can be no trouble, dear Flora.
That I shall rest in peace, for I know that dreadful vampire cannot come to me when you are by.
That what, Flora?
The vampire, Henry. It was a vampire.
Good God, who told you so?
No one. I have read of them in the book of travels in Norway, which Mr. Marchdale lent us all.
Alas, discard, I pray you, such a thought from your mind.
Can we discard thoughts? What power have we but from the mind, which is ourselves?
True.
Hark! What noise is that? I thought I heard a noise. Henry, when you go, ring for someone first. Was that not a noise?
Accidental shutting of some door, dear.
Then I am relieved. Henry, I sometimes fancy I am in a tomb and someone is feasting on my flesh. They do say, too, that those who in life have been bled by a vampire become themselves vampires and have the same horrible taste for blood as those before them. Is it not horrible?
You only vex yourself with such thoughts, Flora. Mr. Chillingworth is coming to see you.
Can he minister to a mind disease?
But yours is not, Flora. Your mind is healthy, and so although his power doesn't extend that far, we will thank heaven, dear Flora, that you have no need for it.
Heaven help me. I know not, Henry. The dreadful being held on by my hair. I must have it all taken off. I tried to get away, but it dragged me back. A brutal thing it was. Oh, then, at that moment, Henry, I felt as if something strange took place in my brain, and I was going mad. I saw those glazed eyes close to mine. I felt a hot, pestiferous breath on my face.
Hush, my Flora, hush. Look at me.
I'm calm now. It fixed its teeth in my nose. Did I faint away?
You did, dear. But let me pray you to refer this all to imagination, or at least the greater part of it.
But you saw it.
Yes.
All saw it.
We all saw some man, a housebreaker. It must have been some housebreaker.
What more easy, dear Flora, than to assume such a disguise?
Was anything stolen?
Not that I know of. But there was an alarm, you know.
That that which came here was born immortal. Oh, Henry, if it had but killed me, now I have been happy, but I cannot live. And here it bleeds.
Talk of something else, dear Flora. You will make yourself much worse if you indulge yourself in these strange fancies.
Oh, but they were but fancies.
They are, believe me.
There is a strange confusion in my brain betwixt
Say not so. All this will pass away like a dream, and leave so faint a trace upon your memory that the time will come when you will wonder if I had ever made such an impression on your mind at all.
You utter these words, Henry, but they do not come from your heart. No. Oh, perhaps with somebody me, my dear. Henry, Dr. Chillingworth's in the dining room.
You will see him, dear Flora. You know Mr. Chillingworth well.
Yes, Henry, I will see him for whoever he please.
Show him up. Show up Mr. Chillingworth.
In a few moments, the medical man was in the room, and he at once approached the bedside to speak to Flora, upon whose pale countenance he looked with evident interest, while at the same time it seemed mingled with a painful feeling, at least so his own face indicated.
Well, Miss Vandersworth, what is all this I hear about an ugly dream you have had?
A dream?
Yes, as I understand. Was it not a dream, then?
She wrung her hands and in a voice of extreme anguish and pathos said,
Would it were a dream! Would it were a dream! Oh, if anyone could but convince me it was a dream!
Well, will you tell me what it was, then?
Yes, sir. It was a vampire.
I suppose that is, after all, another name, Flora, for the nightmare.
No.
Do you really then persist in believing anything so absurd, Miss Vandersworth?
What can I say to the evidence of my own senses? I saw it. The Henry saw it. George saw Mr. Marchdale, all saw it. It could not at once be the same, the victims of the same delusion.
How faintly you speak.
I am very faint and ill.
Indeed. What wound is that upon your neck?
A wild expression came over the face of Flora, a spasmodic action of the muscles, accompanied with a shuddering, as if a sudden chill had come over the whole mass of blood took place, and she said,
It is the mark left by the teeth of the vampire.
the smile was a forced one upon the face of Mr. Chillingworth.
Draw up the blind, Mr. Henry, and then let me examine this puncture to which your sister attaches so extraordinary meaning.
The blind was drawn up, and a strong light was thrown into the room. For full 2 minutes, Mr. Chillingworth attentively examined the two small wounds in the neck of Flora. He took a powerful magnifying glass from his pocket and looked at them through it, and after his examination was concluded, he said,
They are very trifling wounds indeed.
But how inflicted?
By some insect, I should say, which probably, being season for many insects, is flown in through the window.
I know the motive which prompts all these suggestions is a kind one, and I ought to be the last to quarrel with it, but what I have seen, nothing can make me believe I saw not. Unless I am, as I have once or twice thought myself, really mad.
How do you feel now in general health?
Far from well, and a strange drowsiness at times creeps over me. Even now I feel it.
She sunk back on the pillows as she spoke and closed her eyes with a deep sigh. Mr. Chillingworth beckoned Henry to come with him from the room. The latter had promised that he would remain with Flora, and as Mrs. Vanderworth had left the chamber because she was unable to control her feelings, he rang the bell and requested that his mother would come. She did so, and then Henry went downstairs along with the medical man, whose opinion he was certainly eager to be now made acquainted with. As soon as they were alone in an old-fashioned room, which was called the Old Closet, Henry turned to Mr. Chillingworth and said,
What now is your candid opinion, sir? You have seen my sister and those strange, indubitable evidences of something wrong.
I have, and to tell you the truth, candidly, Mr. Henry, I am sorely perplexed.
I thought you would be.
It is not often that a medical man likes to say so much, though is it indeed often prudent that he should do so. But in this case, I own, I am much puzzled. It is contrary to all my notions upon such subjects.
Those wounds, what do you think of them?
I do not know what to think. I am completely puzzled in regards to them.
But do they not really bear the appearance of being bites?
They really do.
And so far then, they are actually in favor of the dreadful supposition that poor Flora entertains.
So far they certainly are. Now I have no doubts in the world of there being bites, but we must not jump to the conclusion that the teeth which inflicted them were human. It is a strange case, and one which I feel assured must give you all much uneasiness, as indeed it gave me. But as I said before, I will not let my judgment get into the fearful and degrading superstition which all the circumstances connected with the strange story would seem to justify.
It is a degrading superstition.
To my mind, your sister seems to be laboring under the effect of some narcotic.
Indeed.
Yes, unless she really has lost a quantity of blood, which loss has decreased the heart's action sufficiently to produce the languor under which she now evidently labors.
Oh, that I could believe the former supposition, but I am confident she is taking no such narcotic. She could not even do so by mistake, for there are no such drugs in the house. Besides, she is not heedless by any means. I'm quite convinced she has not done so.
Then I am fairly puzzled, my young friend. And I can only say that I would have freely given half of what I am worth to see the figure that you saw last night.
What would you have done?
I would have not lost the sight of it for all the world's wealth.
You would have felt your blood freeze with horror. The face was terrible.
And yet, let it lead me where it might, I would have followed it.
I wish you had been there.
I wish to heaven I had. If I thought there was at least the chance of another visit, I would come and wait with patience every night for a month.
I cannot say. I am going to sit up tonight with my sister, and I believe our friend Mr. Marchdale will share my watch with me.
Mr. Chillingworth appeared to be for a few moments lost in thought, and then suddenly rousing himself as if he found it either impossible to come to any rational conclusion upon the subject, or had arrived at one which he chose to keep to himself, he said,
Well, we must leave the matter at present as it stands. Time may accomplish something toward its development, but at present, so palpable a mystery I had never come across, or a matter in which human calculation was so completely foiled.
Nor I.
I will send you some medicines, such as I think will be of service to Flora, and depend upon seeing me by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
You have, of course, heard something about vampires.
I certainly have. And I understand that in some countries, particularly Norway and Sweden, the superstition is a very common one.
And in the Levant.
Yes, the ghouls of the Mahometans are of the same description of beings. All that I have heard of the European vampire has made it a being which can be killed, but is restored to life again by the rays of a full moon falling on the body.
Yes, I have heard of such.
And that the hideous repast of blood has to be taken very frequently, and that if the vampire gets it not, he wastes away, presenting the appearance of one in the last stage of consumption, and visibly, so to speak, dying.
That is what I have understood.
Tonight, do you know, Mr. Bannersworth, is the full of the moon. If now you had succeeded in killing... What am I saying? I believe I am getting foolish, and that the horrible superstition is beginning to fasten itself upon me as well as upon all of you. How strangely the fancy will wage war with the judgment in such a way as this.
Full of the moon. Night is near at hand.
Banish these thoughts from your mind, or else, my young friend, you will make yourself decidedly ill. Good evening to you, for it is evening. I shall see you tomorrow morning.
Mr. Chillingworth appeared now to be anxious to go. Henry no longer opposed his departure, but when he was gone, a sense of great loneliness came over him.
Tonight is the full moon. How strange that this dreadful adventure should have taken place just the night before. It is very strange. Let me see.
He took from the shelves of a bookcase the work which Flora had mentioned, entitled Travels in Norway, in which work he found some account of the popular belief in vampires. He opened the work at random, And then some of the leaves turned over themselves to a particular place, as the leaves of a book will frequently do, when it has been kept open the length of time at that part, and the binding stretched there more than anywhere else. There was a note at the bottom of one of the pages at this part of the book, and Henry read as follows.
With regard to these vampires, it is believed by those who are inclined to give credence to so dreadful a superstition that they always endeavor to make their feast of blood for the revival of their bodily powers on some evening immediately preceding a full moon. Because if any accident should befall them, such as being shot or otherwise killed or wounded, they can recover by lying down somewhere where the moon's rays will fall upon them.
Henry let the book drop from his hands with a groan and a shudder. That concludes chapter 4 of this Penny Dreadful. If you wish to read chapter 5, you need to procure another penny from your pocket for the next installment. But as for tonight's dreadful tale,